welcome back to another speed build video. My name's Jess and today I'm building in Copperdale on a 30 by 30 lot, and today's build is an old mill house that I am completely obsessed with. I love how this build turned out. I can't speak about it enough. I was able to use a few different items and different build hacks, I guess, that I don't normally do that really, I think, made this come together. So especially how I kind of put the first story in the water, it really made this like convincing mill house, and there's that nice little gap that I was able to put a few different between the kind of deck area and the ground, and I was able to put a few like decor items that I just think make this really stand out. It's so cute. So anyways, I hope you enjoy it as well as much as I did. And I had such a blast doing this build, just using lots of different kind of rundown items that I really enjoy building in this style. So you can see I used the siding from Werewolves, which Werewolves is just key to doing a build that is kind of rustic now. I'm so glad we have that pack. It's just so perfect and really suited this build. So I went ahead and added in these columns because I just really thought it needed a little extra detail, and adding those on I think look really nice. But I will say the one thing about this build is it is a little bit form over function, where the columns are a little annoying, how they extend past the first floor, which is so frustrating. I wish they wouldn't do that. But the other thing about this build is you can see it, but it's a very tall, narrow build. So that means your Sims definitely have to get used to using the stairs. There is 3 different levels. So you just might have to be a little patient with your Sims or use the teleporter, but I really think it's worth it. Hopefully I'm not convincing you to not give this lot a try, but I just think that this turned out to be such a cool build. Like I've said many times, it's just so hard when I'm watching this back and I'm like, I really love this. I can't believe I came up with this idea. That's just how I'm feeling. So you can see I've started working on the landscaping, and I'm using landscaping from Werewolves, from high school years, and from base game, as well as outdoor retreat. And so I just really loved this combination and getting like a really interesting palette of greens. I wanted this build to work in different worlds, of course, and there is a 30 by 30 lot in Moonwood Mill, and I really think that this would suit that world as well. I mean, it's called Moonwood Mill and might as well put a mill there. But one thing though about this build, overall, this is a really long build for my channel. So you can definitely tell I was a little bit more meticulous with my landscaping and with my cluttering. I just really wanted to make this look convincing. So there's a lot of different elements of landscaping that I had to add in. And I needed to use the tool mod a lot because, as you can see, this house is on a hill, and the hills always make it complicated to add in different landscaping items that don't want to connect to the ground, so you have to use the tool mod. And then of course, using these rocks, I had to use the tool mod quite a bit. I really love these rocks too. I haven't used them, but they're the rocks from Copperdale, and you can get them in Live Edit. But I thought they just really worked for this area, and you can actually see in the background there, I think, is a waterfall as well, or at least there's like a body of water. And seeing the rocks like in full size, I just feel like it really feels like it blends into the world in this lot specifically really nicely. Another thing I'll say about this lot is I do have it turned around. So the way the lot, I guess, is intended to be oriented is to sort of face the street, but the lighting was so much better on this side of the build that I just had to move it around. And I think it would be worthwhile to just have it this way for gameplay. It's just nice when you have the best lighting in the orientation of the land. and I will say that I was able to get really nice lighting for the final shots, and I really love the final shots. Hopefully you also saw at the beginning of this video the little animation of the mill wheel and the waterfall. I love using the waterfall. It's from Discover University, and you can find it in live edit mode. It can be a little difficult to find, but it just looks like giant blue steps, and you can place it in your lot with tool mod. I think that's the easiest way to do it, but you can also build a basement and raise it up from the basement. But getting it exactly in place takes such a long time if you're doing the basement kind of movement. So I just would recommend the tool mod. And honestly, even if you're not like the biggest builder in The Sims, it is so game changing that I would recommend it just in general. It's so nice to be able to size things down by how much you want to size it down and not just with what we can do with the bracket keys. So anyways, you can see I'm making quite a bit of progress on the exterior of the build, and I went ahead and used the fence pieces from Cottage Living to kind of fill in the gap that was left with the water. And I think it ended up being really convincing. Like, it just looks super natural to the world. And also added in the wood stack from My Wedding Stories. Again, it's a live edit object. And then that kind of crate stack from Base Game, actually. And I think that really added just a cute detail to that area. And then I just wanted to add a few items on the front. I didn't want to make it too busy, so that stool from Jungle Adventure and the bucket from Cottage Living was perfect. And of course I had to add the actual mill wheel itself. And again, I love that item with the animation. It's just so beautiful. Now I went ahead and added in the wallpaper and kind of figured out the flooring and the layout of the build. And one thing that was kind of interesting with this build, I feel like it cemented that this is definitely one of my favorite styles to build in. It used to be that I loved doing Scandinavian style builds, and don't get me wrong, I still love Scandinavian style builds, but doing this more like cottagey, eclectic build just is so much fun, and you don't have to be so concerned with tones matching or having like the perfect items that you need to make something look modern, because definitely one thing about The Sims, as much as I love it, we don't always have the most convincing modern items in the game. But we do have a lot of items that I think work so well for the cottage build. Of course, Cottage Living and Country Kitchen stuff really made, or Country Kitchen kit, really made such a difference in adding items that make convincing cottages. But I do think we have things even in Base Game that just add really a perfect element to this build. One thing I did over on TikTok was I made a video that showcased all the builds I did last year, which was so crazy to see, or at least most of the builds. I'm sure I lost a couple screenshots along the way, but one thing I noticed is all my favorite builds that I did from last year, or at least the majority of them, are like a cottage style build. So I used to think that I could not do a build style like this, but I think I've come a long way, and I think I can do this pretty convincingly. So that was a cool kind of discovery as I was looking through the video, and then doing this build really cemented how much I enjoy just doing builds like this and being able to clutter up to my heart's content. And so I went ahead and added this little bread pile, I guess, and a little fruit cake, because I wanted to make it look like this was a very welcoming kind of place. And I figured the person who lived here, or people that lived here, would definitely have like snacks waiting for any visitors or for themselves. And I wanted to carry through the gray just a little bit. So originally I had the kitchen as a more gray tone, but I just thought the build needed a little more life than that. But I wanted to still carry through the gray tone from the outside. So doing that with the dining table, I think, was perfect and added just the perfect little bit of detail. And then I really like this stack of books from Cats and Dogs, and I think it works perfectly under stairs to just kind of fill in that gap. And with this little side table from, I believe it's Parenthood, but I could be wrong. It could be like Laundry Day or something. But the swatch matched almost perfectly with the kitchen, so I had to use it. And I really, really like just the detail it adds to this build. And then I hung up some aprons on the side of the railing and just finished up with that bottom story. So now I'm moving on to the second story, which is going to be the bathroom, the living room, and the workshop. Which we also have a shed, so there's a lot of opportunity to add in items for skill building and for gameplay, which I always love being able to do in my builds, just to make them more fun. And I will say, for some reason, this bathroom was really glitchy with like moving my camera around like crazy, so I apologize. It was not so fun to build with, but I'm sure it's even worse watching it sped up. But luckily it wasn't so bad for the rest of the build. So I wanted to add in a little bookshelf to this area, and I'm loving this bookshelf from Werewolves. It's so cute. Definitely one of my favorite items, again, to use in a build like this. It's so, so nice. So one thing I will say, this, I think I mentioned this is the longest voiceover that I think I've done on my channel, which is pretty crazy considering I have like 80 plus videos, but usually I'm just a lot faster or have like maybe less detailed builds. I'm honestly not sure why this one is so much longer, but hopefully you're enjoying it and maybe enjoying like a little snack as you're watching. But one thing I wanted to talk about voiceovers was my last video. I had the most frustrating time doing the voiceover. It was ridiculous. So what happened was I've been streaming quite a bit, and I've been turning my mic off when I'm done streaming, and there's a little button on my computer to do that, but I keep forgetting to turn my mic back on. So I started doing the recording for the video, and once I started it, I didn't love my first take, so I did a second take, and this also includes me like messing up so many times. I am not great at voiceovers, and I have to do them like multiple takes. I have like, usually it takes me like at least 20 different takes to finally get a final voiceover, maybe 15 sometimes if it's on a good day. But so I did one full take. I decided I didn't like it, so I did another full take. Decided I didn't love that one, so I did a third one. And then I was like, you know what? I think I have the energy to do a fourth one. And by that fourth one, I finally looked over at my recording software and saw there was no sound that was recorded. And I then finally realized my mic was turned off. So that meant I had to do a fifth voiceover. It took me such a long time, or at least it feels like a long time, just like talking into a microphone all alone. So that was just a little thing behind the scenes of doing these videos that sometimes it's just not great. And I completely messed up, and that's totally my own mistake. That I definitely should have checked that myself before I kept recording multiple times, but I just couldn't believe how many times I had done it and then finally realized. So you can see with that story, we've gotten quite a bit done. So I worked on the workshop and finished up the living room. Really love how that turned out. It actually changed a lot from when I originally did this build. I started it on stream and I had a completely different layout, but I wanted to have it more diagonal. Just because I thought it would suit the layout of the room a little bit better, and I'm really happy I changed that up. But if you're ever curious to watch my like process and how I build, definitely feel free to join me on stream. I'm trying to stream at least every Tuesday and Thursday, so I'd definitely love to see you there. My Twitch is linked down below if you are interested. But you can see I am now working on the bedroom, and in the bedroom, I was using lots of different items that I just thought would add in the perfect little clutter elements. And I really wanted this house to really look like there was makers who lived here, or like creative people who just like handy people. So like doing the little herbal remedies on the shelf, I just thought made sense in this build. And you might have noticed I added them kind of all over the build. So now you can see I'm working on a little study area because, of course, you need to have a computer in your build. It's just necessary for gameplay. So that's why I love the computer from Cottage Living, because it suits builds like this so much more nicely than the other computers we have in the game. It kind of looks like a keyboard, which is perfect. And then there was just enough room to do a little reading area. And here I realized for some reason I deleted the shelves or the bookshelf I put down there. I have no idea how that happened, but I just put it back and then grabbed the tomes, the ancient tomes, and set them on that little side table. And I think that looked so nice. And then there's just enough room for a couple shelves. And I did one of my favorite tricks, which is using the gnomes as a kind of bookend, just to change it up from the bunnies that come with the Cottage Living book stack. And finally, just using the werewolf rug, which is, again, perfect for builds like this. I absolutely love it. I'm such a big fan of werewolves. It added so much to the game. But now we're working on the shed, which I actually made a juice fizzing shed, and just added items that I thought made it kind of look realistic of what you might need if you were doing this juice fizzing. And I just used this table to stack up like the inventory. And yeah, that actually means we're coming close to the end of the build. So I just want to thank you so much for watching and supporting my little channel here on YouTube. It means so much to me, but I hope you have a great day. Thanks again for watching. Bye.